Context has shown you this before. Some footage here from our visit to Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh. Rohingya refugees there are still stalled, as are other people in other camps like this around the world. And many churches and charities work to get them moving again, including the Christie Refugee Welcome Center in Toronto. And joining me right now is Reverend Sam Chase, the Executive Director of Christie Refugee Welcome Center. Sam, I don't think we realize how desperate people are when they've landed unsponsored in a city like Toronto. What are you encountering when those people are coming to the door?
Well, 150 people arrive every day in Canada who aren't sponsored. So it's a massive number because we're known to be a country that welcomes them relatively well compared to many places in the world. So we encounter people who have sort of, this is their last hope. They've had to leave danger wherever they are and find a way here.
Okay, I just want to compare those numbers for a moment
Okay.
of the last hope. So we've been giving this the picture here of the 70 million displaced homeless people there are.
Yeah.
150 a day.
Arrive in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here they are knocking on your door. What do you do?
Well, we welcome them. We provide room and board. We serve refugee families. So we have 30 rooms, 76 beds. Half of our residents are children. We do basic shelter, but then we help them walk through their refugee claim. We have a family specialist who meets with them, make sure they're healthy physically and mentally and all of those kinds of things. We get the kids into school. And then we invest a lot of effort into helping them find housing in Toronto or the Toronto area.
Because these are not sponsored refugees.
Right.
They have somehow got that lucky break
Right.
after being stalled on the refugee highway.
Yeah.
And they actually need us to be neighborly to them. Explain the vision that could happen if we were being the kinds of neighbors that are going to be needed here.
Well, you know, the Canadian Church has led the culture in terms of sponsoring refugees. It's one of the great untold stories where we have really shared the welcome of Jesus with the world. But now, most of the people who are coming to Canada who are refugees weren't sponsored by anyone. So most of them have no one here to welcome them, not a government agency or a church. And they're moving into our neighborhoods, into certainly all the major centers, but even smaller urban centers. And they need friendship more than anything else. Social isolation is a huge issue.
And how do we start? Just the way we would see someone at the Y or the library and say, I think that's a new face.
Yeah, I think, you know, it always feels like a bit of a risk when you try to cross a culture, cross a boundary, or talk to someone you didn't know before, but you're on your home turf, right? They're not on their home turf. So I think those of us who are operating out of a place of where we live can kind of take the risk. You know, most people appreciate someone making the effort. And if they don't speak any English, you can just sign language to them or whatever. It's all about creating a space of welcome for them.
All right. And any idea of when and if this might increase in Canada? Is it a discussion?
It's a discussion. The numbers really started to go up in 2017, and at that point, a lot of people in the government sector thought it was a blip, thought it was a short-term thing. Those of us who worked in the refugee sector you know, weren't sure it would be a blip because there are a record number of people displaced in the world, more than the population of the United Kingdom. That's how many people are displaced in the world today. So it's not going to change.
All right. Well, Reverend Sam Chase, thank you for reminding us to put the humanity in it and to welcome these new neighbors that have arrived without a sponsor, without a friend, without a government agency. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hit subscribe and the notification bell to get our weekly episodes and web exclusives.